Welcome to another video. This week it's all about learning sign language. Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're a returning subscriber, it's lovely to have you here again. I am a lecturer in the UK, so I specialise in physics and I research and I teach and I work at a university. So if you're wondering why I've started moving my hands, it's because the last 3 years I've spent studying and learning British Sign Language. So whipping over my backstory very quickly, basically a few years back I started losing some hearing in one of my ears. That's been diminishing and I thought it's about time I started to upskill and learn some sign language in case I need to use it. And it's been the most fascinating, brilliant 3 years learning a completely new skill set. I've met fantastic people along the way, and it's really reminded me what it feels like to be a student again. Now, obviously I work and I teach and I research at a university, so I teach undergraduate students, I teach master's students, I supervise PhD students, and suddenly I found myself back in the classroom. So in this video I thought I'd share a little bit about my experiences being a student again. And then if you're interested more, I guess more of the kind of the story behind the sign language and why I've been learning it, let me know in the comments and I can kind of fill you in a bit more. But let's jump in then to what it was like to be a student. So I started learning sign language, oh gosh, back 3 years. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm using something called sign supported English. So in the United Kingdom there are three main, I guess, disciplines where people use signs to support what they're saying. You have British Sign Language, you have sign supported English, and you have Makaton. Now, I learnt British Sign Language, which is a language that has its own grammar, it has its own structure. What I've been doing in this video so far is something called Sign Supported English. So that's where I'm using British Sign Language signs, if you like, and gestures, but I'm using them within the grammar structure of English. So I'm not using them within the grammar structure of BSL or British Sign Language. Okay, I'm getting too deep into the BSL side of it. Basically, 3 years ago, I walked into the classroom to start my BSL learning. I hadn't been a student, I guess, in a classroom for some time. I'm usually the one giving class, not the one receiving class. It was an evening class. My classmates were lovely. We have the most amazing instructor. So we all sat down. Now our instructor, she is deaf, so she taught us in a brilliant way. So it was so inclusive right from the start. I found the class immediately welcoming and friendly. Yes, I think we were all a bit nervous because we weren't quite sure how the class was going to go, if we were going to be able to understand and make a meaningful contribution to the class. But very, very quickly the teacher had put us all at our ease. We were learning the alphabet, we were practicing our numbers. I remember that first week being so excited that I had some basic knowledge of the basic signs. I spent the whole week walking around campus and signing number plates of cars, trying to practice finger spelling. There's lecture building signs that I was seeing. It was really motivating. And it was motivating because she obviously was a good teacher. She was enthusiastic, encouraging, the class was of a nice size. But we had homework and, I like to think that I'm a decent student in the fact that I will do my homework. So as I said, I practiced quite hard in those first few weeks. And then as the course progressed, I found, you needed to keep practicing. You couldn't just have one big spike of working hard at the beginning of the course. It was quite involved. So the course lasted over, I think it's 9 months in total, 9 to 10 months. And it was like a weekly lecture, a weekly evening class for about 2.5 hours. And then we did our homework and our practice throughout the week. And of course there was independent studies. We had to go and meet up independently and practice as small groups. So the whole experience was brilliant. But it did remind me what it feels like when you are that new person in a new classroom, learning something new for the first time with people that you don't know. So in a few weeks' time, I will be lecturing students for the first time in a lecture theatre at a university. They will be new to the university. This will be their first experience. I think I'm one of their very first physics lectures because I teach a fundamentals course in classical mechanics. And so they will probably most likely be having that same set of emotions and feelings that I experienced. And so although I've been teaching this lecture class now for 8-9 years, I think it's always good to pause and to think about, okay, is there any way I can make the class more welcoming, more accessible? In those first few lectures, I have to cover some basic groundwork of how they're going to access the course materials, where the resources are, how they're going to basically engage with me as the lecturer, how they're going to be able to find the course lecture notes, the handwritten notes, the demonstrations that come along with that lecture. And they're going to be having that not only from myself, but also from their mathematics lectures. They'll be doing optics lectures, they'll be going into laboratory classes, they'll be having computing classes. So for them, they're going to have this almost overwhelming experience in the first couple of weeks of getting to grips with all this information from all these different lecture classes. And so a few days back, I was approached by another colleague in the department, and they want to make an announcement, make students aware of something in the lectures. And I think it's a very good thing. They want them to know about a particular framework within the university that can support them as they go through their studies. But now, having been a student myself, more recently, I'm mindful about not overloading students in those first few lectures. So I will say absolutely yes, they can come into my lecture and to share this information, but probably not in week one. Week one, the students have enough information, if you like, coming just from me, delivering the basics of the lecture course without adding in additionals. So week 2, week 3, absolutely come in and share this additional information, but maybe not in that crucial first week where students are really trying to find their feet. The other thing that really struck me as I was learning my sign language was how much praise can really go quite a long way. When the teacher said that something had gone well, or when the other students smiled and encouraged, it meant a lot. It was nice to have that feeling of support from other people, and it was nice to have that acknowledgement of when things were going well. So I tried to regard myself as kind of a positive, upbeat lecturing style. I will not hide from the fact that they need to know certain things to pass exams, and that some things are complicated and may be challenging to learn, but I need to ensure that I'm making enough time to recognise and appreciate when things have gone well with the students, letting them know that. I try to always let my students know when I think something has gone well, but making a real point to articulate that, I think, can make a positive impact, because I know it made a positive impact on me when I was told something had gone well, especially if I'd spent the whole of that week practicing my homework to then get up and do a role play story that sometimes we had to do using sign language, for that kind of critical feedback about what had gone maybe not so well, but also the positive feedback about what had gone well. Now, I've been learning sign language now for 3 years. So I've just completed the level 3 course and got through that. And again, that's made me, I guess, reflect a little bit on sustained study. So I did year 1 and passed year 1 and thought, okay, well, I'll keep going and do year 2. And you sort of build up momentum. Some of the same classmates came with me. I had some new classmates as I transitioned. I had a different teacher for my level 2 of sign language. My level 3 of sign language, I went back actually to my original teacher, because they kind of rotate who teaches which classes. I did find that there was a jump from my level 2 standard that I had to know to my level 3 standard. Suddenly the exercises were, I found, notably more complicated. My vocabulary had to be much broader, much wider. I was looking at faster paced conversations that I had to understand. The videos were more complicated. I had to give a presentation in sign language for, I think it was 10 minutes. watch a complicated video, it got tougher, and I had to therefore work harder. And obviously this had been now 3 years of study, and so I'm having to now ramp up my level of what I'm doing. And I think, in part that can also be a little bit like what the degree might feel like. You start year one, and then you get through year one and year two, and then suddenly the courses are getting more and more complicated, but you're getting nearer your end goals, but you're having to keep working quite hard to get there. And so I think looking at my lecturing on my later years, so I teach third years, fourth years, I teach master's students, it's really noting there that these students have had sustained study, and in many cases they've come straight from their school and college system into the university system. So they are talking multiple years of continuous study every year. And that's, a hard thing to keep going. Yes, you build up your momentum, but you are always having assessments, always having exams, always learning new material. And so it's just thinking about how I can help support those learners as they're coming towards the end of their degree, when the finish line is in sight and they've almost got their qualification, but they've still got to do all the advanced physics courses, in my case, to get through to get that end goal. So these are things that are in my head as I'm about to start teaching for another semester. And I'll have new personal tutees who will be joining me for the first time. I've got tutees in their third year, fourth year, their master's year. So all in different places, if you like, of their academic study. And I think I'm just going to come at it with a slightly fresh perspective, having done these evening classes myself. But let me know your thoughts. Have you studied recently? Are you maybe an academic yourself and you're taking an evening class as well? Or perhaps you are somebody who's preparing to go to university and you've been studying for many, many years and you're used to keeping this feeling of trying to keep the motivation and energy going to study your subject. Let me know in the comments how you take on keeping your energy levels up when you're enjoying or finding it difficult to study a topic. If you'd like to know more about the sign language side, let me know in the comments too. I'm very happy to chat about that. In the meantime, I hope things are going well for you, that you're getting ready for another academic year. We kick off in a couple of weeks' time, which means I'm now back into academic mode. So you've probably noticed the frequency of the videos has dropped a bit over the summer due to travel, research grant preparation, applications, conferences. But as we go back into semester now, I'll be back into my kind of weekly, fortnightly videos. So do hit subscribe, do join our little academic space here on YouTube. Have a great week and I'll see you very soon. Bye.